Hello my dear friends and welcome to my channel. Don't forget to make yourself a cup of tasty drink with snacks if you want, because today we have very interesting stories, and one of them is a story about a man who broke the rules and let his kid assault other people and finally get what he deserved. Please subscribe if you haven't and I hope you'll enjoy it. I am 19 now, and this happened between the ages of 8 and 12. Most of it I saw myself, but some things I had to hear from my parents. I was in school with a CK, let's call her Bella. Bella was the youngest kid in class, but she thought she was the oldest, at least mentally. I have Asperger, but that didn't stop me from acting, mostly, normal. I had weirder interests, but drawing and reading Percy Jackson books don't seem to be that out of place for an 8-year-old. Bella didn't like this. She wanted everyone to be like her, at least the girls. It had to be horses as your favorite animal, your favorite sport had to be horseback riding, and you needed to like the books and other things she liked. Now, I did not like her already, she called my friend's brother dumb for being severely autistic, so you can imagine what I felt back then. She used to bully me daily. She'd tell me that I was weird and stuff. Some of the things she said still hurt me to this day. She used to call me obese to the point where I actually stopped eating until my mom sat me down and I opened up. Bella was obese. I mean really obese. Bella was around 4'5" and weighed around 176 pounds. I use kilograms and centimeters since I'm not from the US, so converted pounds and feet. She was only 8 years old and already had DT-sized boobs. One day she was bullying me and I stood up for myself, calling her a pig or whale. She cried about it and my mom and her mom had to speak to my teacher. Bella's mom, we'll call her Karen, denied because her precious angel would never bully anyone, especially not a simple person. This did not sit well with my mom, and I don't know what happened, but somehow Karen and Bella ended up being friends of us. Bella stopped bullying me for some time, and her mom started to eat at our house. Note that I said our, since she never invited us over. Karen's husband had cheated on her and left, so one day she came over, crying her eyes out. Not long after, my granddad passed away and my dad fell into a depression and didn't go to work for some time. This is where Karen saw her chance. My dad started to bring me to school every day. According to other parents, Karen would take out her ponytail and style her hair with her fingers to make herself seem more attractive to my dad every time she saw our car us on bikes coming up. She would touch him on his shoulder, change her way of speaking, and just the stereotypical thing you see girls in TV shows or movies behave when they have a crush on a guy. My mom's friend told my mom this, but my mom wants to hear both sides, so she asks Karen. She denied all of it, calling her friend a liar and saying that she was jealous and wanted my dad. This was nonsense since her friend is already married with pretty much a copy of my dad. My mom broke the friendship she had with her friend. I know this wasn't Karen's goal, but she felt entitled enough to do that. Bella started feeding me lies about my mom's friend's kids, who happened to be one of my best friends. Being autistic, I didn't listen and told my mom about what Bella was saying. This opened her eyes a bit and she started to notice things. Karen would come over every time my mom had to go to work, she knew my mom's schedule, she would then talk to my dad or cry about her ex. During dinners, she would tell how much we meant to her and her entitled kid. Karen would sometimes talk to me, telling me things that I would now call her out for if it had happened now. She began to tell me about how handsome and nice and caring and how perfect my dad was. She asked if I liked Bella and that it might have been fun if she and I became sisters. I was a stupid 10-year-old then, so I was oblivious to this, but so was my dad. A year later my parents and Karen were celebrating carnival, basically 3 days of drinking a crap ton of booze, and somehow she thought my mom was too drunk to remember what she was gonna say. Now it has been 9 years, so I might remember this wrong, but it went something like this. Karen. My ex leaving was good. I have seen now how much better my dad's name is, and I want him. He is probably already thinking of leaving you. My daughter deserves a better father, and my name is way too much of a brat for him anyway. She also told my mom that she loved her and kissed her. My mom pushed her off of her and yelled, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" After that, my parents tried to avoid Karen, but she insisted on helping us when we were moving houses. We didn't allow her, so she spread some rumors around, which every other parent ignored or simply told her to shove it. Bella started to bully me again, this time telling me how ugly I was and that no one would ever love me. My parents are still happily married to this day, have taken up the friendship with my mom's friend again. I have a boyfriend who I have been with for a bit more than 2 years, and Karen and Bella were sued by Karen's ex-husband because they were still living in his house without payment for 6 months longer than contracted. I love this story. Great job controlling your emotions, revenge and karma really got EM and Bella really good. Yes, I'm only 15, but I volunteer at a horse riding school. I help with little kids' lessons and look after the horses and stuff. We have this one horse who I'll call DH for dangerous horse. DH is one of our tall horses, around 17 HH or 6 feet. He's not suitable to be ridden by children and can be dangerous by bolting or throwing people off. Anyway, now we've got that sorted, let's get into the actual story. EM. Entitled Mother, SK. Stupid kid, me. DH. Dangerous horse, RI. Riding instructor. EM and SK came to the stables on one of our open days we hold in school holidays. Basically, kids come along and get to ride a little bit, have a tour of the stables, and give the horses treats and stuff like that. SK immediately ran over to DH, who was in a place SK wasn't meant to be. He started shouting that he wanted to ride this one, which spooked DH and other horses. I nearly got stood on as I was in the box with DH at the time, so I told SK to keep his voice down, because it scares the horses. I want to ride this one. I'm sorry, but he can't be ridden by children, he's very dangerous. He doesn't look very dangerous. SK goes to pet DH, but the horse panicked and spun around away from SK. Why doesn't he want to play? I just want to pet him. You have to be respectful of all the horses. If they don't want to play, then they won't. He's scared at the moment. SK then lets out a blood-curdling scream, SK. Mom. EM then appears round the corner and comes marching up to SK. What is going on here, SK? She won't let me pet the horse. Listen, he's very Dan. EM cuts me off. If my son wants to pet the horse, I don't see any problem with it, so let him. DH doesn't want to be petted, your son scared him. What are you on about? My son is gentle and not scary to a big animal like this. Go pet him, SK. As SK goes to pet him one last time, DH swings his head up, hitting SK on the chin, not very hard though. SK and EM leave to go for their riding lesson, with SK crying. Later on I hear some commotion out front by where the lessons are. I go round to see what's going on cause well I'm curious. When I get round the corner, I see EM and SK having an argument with RI about which horse they want to ride. The kids got to choose from around 5 ponies on which one they wanted to ride. SK didn't want a pony and demanded that he rode DH. EM then argued with RI about this for around 5 minutes until picking up her son, who was now crying, and taking him in my direction. She stormed past me and up to DH's stable. She tried to open the door, but we have these tricky locks things on them, so horses can't open them, which meant she couldn't either. She then demanded at me that I open the door and get DH out for her son to ride. Why are you standing there? Help me get this stupid animal out of here for my son. You can't do that, he's not part of the pony rides. He is now. Hurry up, I haven't got all day. You're not allowed. Get him out now, my son wants to ride him. RI appears around the corner with DH's saddle and bridle. She tells me to tack him up quickly for a ride. SK then got all exited, and EM had a smirk on her face, assuming she meant him. I tacked DH up and took him out of his box. He was 3 times the height of the kid. I knew RI wouldn't actually let the kid on DH, but it was amusing watching the kid's excitement. Is that wrong? Okay, where do you get on? We usually get on just round the corner, but you're going to get on here. She said that looking at me, so I knew what to do. She then handed me my helmet. Why are you giving that to her? My son is the one riding. I want to ride the pony. It's my turn. You're too small for DH, and he's dangerous. She then helps me get on, and I ride into the arena with DH. I was the only one in there at the time, but SK followed me whining, being stopped at the gate by RI. Remember when I said DH liked to throw people and bolt? I meant it. As soon as we were in the arena, DH bolted and started bucking. It looked like a rodeo or something, and he did it for a couple of minutes. When he had stopped, I looked over to EM, who had the most amusing look of shock in her face. It was brilliant. Why were you going to put my son on that dangerous animal? He would have died. She then grabbed SK and left. It's safe to say that I don't think she'll be bothering us for a while. How stupid can people be? If they say it's dangerous, then it's freaking dangerous. If you want a dead kid, then go for it. If not, shut up and get back in line. ED. The newest form of the Traveler EK. Spawn of the Gazarian. Me. The reincarnation of Egan Spengler. ND. Nice dad. NG. Nice girl. SG. Security guard. M. Mom, who was also working security. So, last year or so, I went to my local comic or fandom or etc. convention. We'll call it Blankville Comic Con for now. It had been my second year at the con and my first year in cosplay. I'd gone in a Ghostbuster costume I had meant for a bigger con in my state's capital year before last, but didn't finish before the con came due to unrelated reasons. Now, BCC isn't a huge con like a few others you could name, but it had a decent turnout and got quite a few well-known names, from comic artists who worked for or used to work for big-name publishers to a few former Power Ranger actors. All in all, it was a decent con that had been running for the past 4 or so years. And going in cosplay for the first time to this con felt rather confidence boosting, as normally I'm not a very social person thanks to my autism. I lost count of the times people would look at me and shout who you gonna call. And got quite a few compliments on my costume. While I was walking around, I got stopped by a nice dad, ND, and his daughter, NG, who looked about 12 or so, asking if they could get a picture with me because the daughter loved Ghostbusters. I obviously said yes because it was always nice to meet a fellow fan, and me and the daughter got in front of her dad and got ready to take the pic. And just as he takes it, I feel what I think is someone hit me in the side like they were trying to hit a home run with my kidney as the ball. We both turned to see a kid, EK, who is probably less than 10, swinging around a cheap wooden sword, probably bought from one of the vendors, about to take a second whack at my side. This time I managed to grab it from his hand and pull it away, hoping his hit didn't leave anything worse than a light bruise. Kid, that was not very nice. You can't go around hitting people with things. Ek immediately started screaming and stomping, demanding his sword back in the shrillest, whiniest voice imaginable. Like nails on a chalkboard combined shrill. His tantrum immediately brings over our entitled parent for the evening, ED, who gives me a look like I had run over his grandmother. He was a little taller than I was, I'm 5'6", and built like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man had let himself go as he waddled over to me and jabbed a fat finger in my direction. What did you do to my son, idiot? Me. Your son is running around hitting people, well you were nowhere to be found. He's a kid. He's just playing around, that's what this con is for. Now give back his sword, or I'll show you hitting. Now I obviously don't do this, and slide it under my proton pack for safekeeping until the matter was resolved. Sir, I will do no such thing until you get your son under control, and both of you apologize for his behavior. At this, ED joins his little spawn in screaming and shouting at me, even trying to push me back, though I step out of the way before he could. Finally, after what felt like ages, a pair of security guards march over after NG had gone off to get their attention. One of these security guards happens to be my mom, as both she and my dad had been working security at the event for the past couple years. My dad was working ticket and bag check at the main entrance. Is everything okay here? This freaker stole my kid's stuff and felt up that girl. Pointing at NG. Now anyone with even a single brain cell could tell he was lying and trying to get me kicked out, so my mom just turned to me and asked. What is he talking about? I explain, along with corroboration from both ND and NG, that EK had been swinging the wooden sword around and hit me in the side as hard as he could. All the while ED was screaming obscenities and trying to interrupt, saying that I was really a child harasser who had been trying to grope both his son and NG. Now in the midst of this torrent of chaos and shouting, my mom's coworker, SG, happens to glance at ED's wrist and points out the one thing all of us had somehow missed. Sir, where is your wristband? The door staff gave out paper wristbands so that attendees could get back in easily if they had to leave for some reason. We didn't get one. They were all out. Trying to back away. My mom pulled out her radio and contacted her supervisor about ED and EK, just as the two make a run for the back of the convention area where the food trucks were. They don't make it far, as a couple of guys who had been manning a nearby medieval combat sports booth got in their path and helped drag them back to my mom and her coworker. Turns out ED had snuck them in over the waist-high barrier in the back and had let EK on amok through the convention while he tried to get as much free con swag as he could and a few, not-so-free items they found on his person later. Eventually they handed him off to the sheriff's deputy that had been outside doing weapon and prop checks for arrest, and we gave our statements all over again. I didn't press charges since I wasn't hurt too bad, but he still got cuffed for trespassing and theft, while EK had to wait around for a relative to come pick him up. Finally, after all that, NG got the long overdue photo with me in costume. I thanked them both for their help, and we went our merry ways. I love Ghostbusters. When there's an EP in your neighborhood, who you gonna call? Security or the police? I work at my local supermarket. Obviously we have all sorts of idiots and entitled buffoons come in, but this one clearly takes the cake. So this mother came up to my checkout lane and started putting stuff on the belt. Apparently, she decided to give her kid the box of Oreos she was buying, and he elected to tear through that crap like there was no tomorrow. So she pulls it away from him, situation ensues. Me, you know the drill. Tony, put those down. She turns to me now with a half-eaten box. Oh, I'm sorry, could I get a refund for these? Ma'am, you haven't bought those yet. Yes I have, and I can't use them now, can you give me a refund? Ma'am, you haven't bought them, now you have to, that'll be $5, roughly. No, I bought these, and now I want my money back. Now, I don't know if this was some god-awful scheme, or if she was actually this stupid, but either way. Ma'am, I cannot give you a refund on a product you haven't bought. You'll give me a goddamn refund. At this point she pulls out a taser and starts waving it in my direction. I hit the button to trigger the silent alarm. The cops are now on the way. Give me my goddamn refund, you idiot. Look, ma'am, I can go get the manager, maybe he can help. Fine, go get the freaking manager. So I go back and get him, and he goes out and talks to her. I didn't hear what they said, because I cowered in the office for fear of being tased, but the cops showed up after about 4 minutes and arrested her, so it was a hell of a Friday. Thank God for silent alarms. Since she drew a weapon and demanded money, she just picked up an armed robbery charge. You handled that situation like a pro, by the way. Well guys, that's it for today. If you end up enjoying this video, please consider subscribing, and if you missed the last episode on the channel, I'm gonna link it right here. The story is about a woman who was so disappointed OP wins the game that she attacked him. Check this out if you haven't, and I'll see you in my next video.